Start recording. All right, I'm getting off. Bye. Today on the Truth Hour radio program, the funding for the border wall. Did or didn't Trump actually pull this off? Also, the Inspector General, Horowitz, further investigates the FISA abuses. Also, Uranium One, the huge scandal that is the Clinton Foundation. Does this have ties further up the chain of command to the Obama administration? And California's immigration crisis. We'll unpack that. There's counties within California that are standing up against the state. That and much more today on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here?
I want the truth.
Good morning, Truth Hour audience. You're on the Truth Hour radio program with Shane Jameson. I come to you live every Thursday morning here in Pittsburgh, PA, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's a honor and blessing to be on here with you today. Thank you for being on. If you are a frequent visitor of my page, please share this to your page and write a quick snippet. This is a political insight show. I do this weekly. I bring you the week's political most important topics. We unpack those topics and we discuss them in detail, along with my conservative values and also under my Christian faith. So, thank you for being on this morning, guys. Appreciate you joining me this morning. Welcome to you, Jack, and I hope Kelly's there as well at some point. And welcome to my daughter, Cheyenne, way out there in El Paso, Texas. Appreciate you guys being on. We have another jam-packed session for you this morning, just like we do every week. There is never a shortage of topics for politics in this country. A lot of stuff going on, and if you are front and center with politics like I am, it's kind of hitting you from all sides. So a lot of questionable and concerning things going on in our intelligence agencies today. A lot of uncovering of some very, very, very deep and troubling corruption that's been going on for probably a number of administrations as well as a number of generations. And the Trump administration has been the genesis for uncovering all of this. And what a blessing that has become and will continue to be, I believe, over the next few weeks and months and subsequent years. Because, once again, Trump will have a second term. And following the conclusion of President Trump's two-term presidency, we will have Vice President Mike Pence, hopefully for another 8. You heard it first here on the Truth Hour. So, we have a lot to deal with here, guys. I don't really have a specific point of start here, but we'll just dive in. The omnibus spending bill, the $1.3 trillion that was signed into law last week by President Trump, made me sick to my stomach when it first happened, and I'll explain that. But I'll also explain to you why my stomach isn't as sick as it was the day that he signed it, as it relates to today, after the uncovering of some information that I think if you're a conservative and you want the border protected, you should be happy this morning. It has been made aware to me through some research and study in my conservative outlets over the last few days that apparently the deal-maker-in-chief, which is Donald J. Trump, has not let us down. He has actually, most likely, inflated what was in the bill for defense spending and the defense budget for our military to possibly include and to encompass spending on the border wall. And if he pulls this off, it will be absolutely awesome. I remember when this rolled out and they had a press conference and he was going to sign this bill. $1.3 trillion, guys. I think only then President Obama holds the record higher than that. As a conservative, trying to be fiscally responsible, it made me very, very nervous to even, try to wrap my head around why President Trump would do this. But there was a lot of reasons. There was a lot of things that played into the fact that President Trump kind of ended up in a position where he had to go ahead and sign this. Now, he didn't have to. There was a huge portion of my being that wanted him to march out there that day at that press conference and veto it and state that he was going to veto it. I mean, I would have loved nothing more, and basically put it back in the, back on the, back in the lawmaker's side to rehash it, and basically say this is trash, this is garbage. I was voted into office to cut spending, to cut government, not overinflate it. And guys, 1.3 trillion with a T is not cutting government. Let's be honest about that. But President Trump's stance at the time was pretty short and sweet and simple, and I did back him on this. We are, through this omnibus spending bill, the 1.3 trillion, a huge portion of that is for rebuilding this government's military, and this nation's military, getting it back to days of old. We cannot lead with strength and lead from the front around the world with a mediocre military, with a decrepit military, with a hindered military, using spare parts to get flights off the ground military, with a military of the Obama administration's years. The Obama administration has done more to undermine and uproot and dismantle the United States military than probably any other president in modern history. When President Barack Obama exited the office, our military was in shambles. We were repairing, and still are until this money kicks in, robbing Peter to pay Paul. He left so little spending that there were huge cuts, folks, huge cuts in our military to a point that and it was never discovered and actually never discussed. And he actually intended it that way, which is even more scary and sickening. Barack Obama, at the culmination of 8 years in office, left us in an extremely vulnerable position. He wanted us to lead from the back. He wanted us to he didn't even want us to lead. He wanted us to be regretful as a nation for all of the wars we fought in the past. He wanted us to be regretful as a nation for all of the times that we stood up for freedom around the country. He wanted us to be apologetic. He wanted us to be remorseful. And he wanted us to be, just this shell of a country. And he accomplished a lot of that goal through the dismantling and the defunding of our military. President Trump has reversed that. This omnibus spending bill has reinvigorated our military. It will literally explode the growth of the infrastructure of our military for getting us back to where we need to be with adequate planes and equipment, ships, submarines, the whole gamut, right? Just better pay. We're going to have a pay increase for our troops for the first time in I think over 10 years. God bless him for that. If anybody in this country deserves the right to be holding up a sign saying, I want a pay increase, it's our military. Pardon the pun, but I'm all about making more money. But the people that stand out in front of these these minimum wage entry level jobs, such as a McDonald's or a Walmart or a fill in the blank, and they're just demanding $15 an hour type stuff, I think it's ridiculous. How about giving the funds to the folks that are on the front lines, putting their lives on the lines day in and day out, 365, 24/7? Let's fund our military. Let's fund the great American fighting force that protects our freedoms. Let's give them the pay increase they deserve. Can I get a second on that? I mean, that's where the money needs to go. I mean, if you're going to take a bullet for this country or possibly take a bullet for this country and put yourself in harm's way, separate yourself from your loved ones for an extended period of time, be willing to fight and die for this country, I think you need to be earning a lot more money. In fact, I think our veterans should be totally taken care of. I honestly do. I really believe that. Fully taken care of. When they get back from a war zone or a deployment, I don't think they should have to worry about insurance problems. I think that should be, a simple click and go, right? And if they don't have room at the VA, they're set up to go there. And Jack writes, God bless our military, about time they get the funding they need. Absolutely, Jack. Great point. And key word there, about time. 2 words. Key phrase, about time. Absolutely. Lord help us if Hillary Clinton would have been elected president. We might not have had a military at all. I mean, she's been known to have been hawkish too, but let's don't even get into Hillary. I can't stand the woman or her policies or her politics, her lack of principle, her lack of ethics and morals. So I won't even go there. But yeah, great point, Jack. We as a country cannot lead with strength and lead from the front without a strong and prevalent military. It's inevitable that it has to be there. It's inevitable it has to be strong. Good morning to you, Lauren. Thank you, sir. You're one of my Facebook Live faithfuls here on the Truth Hour week in and week out. Thank you, sir. And please, guys, if you're laying on my page at this specific moment, as a friendly request, take and share this to your page now. Hit the share button. Write a short little piece up there if you want to, or just flat out share it to public now. This helps me grow my base. It not only lands me on your wall, but to other people's wall possibly as well that could share it second and third generation. I do appreciate you guys. So once again, was formerly of YouTube. Found it a lot more preferable to be here on Facebook Live, to speak to my direct Facebook friends and my audience and then their audience as well. It's been a blessing to be over here. So with that, I'm grateful to be here again. So we've been discussing the funding for the border wall. So what did Trump do? It's real simple. So he comes out and he's like, threatening, I'm going to veto this. I'm going to veto this. I think I might actually veto this. And there were a lot of conservative talk shows that were actually thinking he was going to do it. I actually talked about it last week, I think. I don't know for sure if I had time, but, could he veto this? Would he do it? I was thinking, man, this has been awesome. Stick it in the thumb in the eye of the establishment and say, no, give me something we can actually deal with here, not, kick the can down and make our generations and their generations and their generations, pay the debt. Because, guys, ultimately that's what this is. $1.3 trillion isn't nothing to sneeze at. We're already, 18 to 20 trillion in debt as a country? I mean, come on. That's not good. That means my kids and their kids are going to be paying for this debt. That's if we even have a country by then, and that's if our Lord Jesus Christ hasn't returned and, called us home. But if we're still a country in 3 generations, watch out. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but the engine of paying back this debt has been set underway by Trump's tax reform bill, all of the deregulation. Guys, we should have more money in the government coffers because of deregulation and more business and more expense through the private sector than we ever have through taxation. So I'm not too worried about it. If you was to come out and spend $1.3 trillion, but you didn't do all these tax cuts, I'd have been really worried then. You want to talk about make a conservative worried and shaking their boots? We just elected President Trump to do a lot of things, but he can go ahead and flirt with this $1.3 trillion and try to make that work with some conservative undertone, like the tax cuts and subsequent other upcoming tax cuts and tax reform that's, I think, the second phase is coming. So, it's not good to spend $1.3 trillion, but rest assured, the underlying fundamentals, in my opinion, are going to just skyrocket, and this is going to be awesome. So, long story short, Trump scared me initially. He comes out there, but he's great. He held all this until the last second. He fights for an amazing boost in military spending. Right? Amazing boost in in military spending. Unfortunately, the Dems get a part of that too. The Dems got a huge portion of this in some not so conservative situations that I am totally against. Planned Parenthood got funded again. Makes me sick. $500 million a year is what that Murder, Inc. factory gets. They don't deserve a dime of my money, your money, Mr. and Mrs. America's money. Period. End of sentence. So there was a lot of things that happened there. And then, the first and foremost, what stood out was the fact that there was only $1.5 billion for the wall. Guys, you know what that funds? 33 miles of the border wall. I think we got like 1,200 or more. Closer to 2,000. Right? So, okay, that's great. $1.5 billion when basically, President Trump, you campaigned on building a wall, not a small portion of it, right? So I'm watching this omnibus spending bill go through and him signing it and all that, and I'm just like beside myself. He only got $1.5 billion. Well, come to find out, tucked away in this huge defense budget, which is part of this bill to increase our military, is discretionary funds that, at the discretion of the Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump, can allocate towards another portion of our defense, our national defense. What is our national defense? Is it just somewhere else? No, is our national defense overseas somewhere? Is it in Iraq or Iran? Is it only in Syria? Is it only in North or South Korea? Is it only in places of war? If you ask me, we're fighting a war right now. And it's about 1,200 miles to my south, and it's called the U.S.-Mexico border, i.e., another expense for our defense. So President Trump steps in here and decides to have this wall funded through the military spending. So it's a great thing. So he hid that. I mean, I think he hid that. I don't know. When he didn't hide it, he funded the military through this. And what happened was there was such a significant amount there. There's more than enough to reboost our military. There's more than enough here, guys, to turn around and not probably get a full $25 billion for the full wall, but probably a huge significant portion of that. So once again, he saves the day. And he does it in a very weird way, right? I mean, as a conservative, I don't usually look at him doing things like this that way. I mean, he usually declares something a certain way, and he doesn't, beat around the bush. But he pulled one over on the Dems, folks. He pulled one over on the Dems. In my opinion, this is one of the biggest bait and switches that you might ever see. Okay? I don't even think they saw this coming. I mean, think about this. Tucked away underneath this other umbrella of the budget, already being accepted, already being set up, already being, basically omitted into the process. The Dems saw it. They thought they acknowledged it for what it was. Trump comes out, and not even 24 to 48 hours later, I'm starting to see stuff from Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, countless other radio talk show hosts, conservatives, that are saying Trump pulled one off for the ages. Right? I mean, he's pulled this off. I mean, and could he do it? And I think there is a political process, a legal process that he has to go through for some votes or something to get this done. But guys, if he's able to get this funding for this wall the way that he got it, and basically snookered it in up under the the Democrats' nose, then so be it. I mean, I don't care how he does it. I don't care if Mexico cut a check for it. I don't care if whatever. Here's my point: the wall starts paying for itself the instant it's implemented. Democrats want to say it's $25 billion that we don't have. Well, that's funny. We don't have the money to pay for all the illegals coming across the border and squatting in our country. We don't have the $25 billion to take care of the border and enforce our current immigration laws. But somehow but we're okay of letting thousands of illegals across, undocumented immigrants, to come in here, and a significant portion of those do not have America's best interests at heart. That's the real debate, guys. And the Democrats don't care about any of these people. The Democrats don't care about a single person that comes across that border illegally, except for one aspect. And that one aspect is their vote. Their vote is the only thing that counts in the Democrats' minds. And as long as they can keep them as a victimhood status, beholden upon the Democratic Party as some kind of savior, they know that they've got a generational vote and multiple generations deep of votes. Right? Because if you infect, and influence one person, typically a lot of families, it's unfortunate, they're not educated, they don't make their own choices, they generationally vote how they were. Ask a lot of generational Democratic voters. Uneducated, jump out there, vote Democrat, straight party line Democrat, don't care what the principles are, what the ethics are, and they could care less. Why? Because their parents did, and their parents did, and their parents did, and their parents did. They're Democrats. Well, that's what we've always done. Why change it? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Yeah, and Jack says President Trump had to fight fire with fire. Absolutely, he's good at that. And Lauren, you say that you lost me there. Y'all jump in here and shoot me a message here on the chat bar. Are y'all reaching me loud and clear? I'm still showing I'm good on live. Still 19 minutes and counting here. Shoot me a quick message. Make sure that I'm coming through and everything's good. I am running solo today. My best buddy Dave Deagle is indisposed. Had a prior arrangement, and so I'm running solo today. So let me know if you hear me, guys. Just throw something across the chat bar. So yeah, we'll move on. So anyways, he funds this wall. It's going to be awesome. And it'll be a stick in the eye to the Democrats and a total political victory. So, okay. Yeah, thanks, Jack. You can hear me. I'm good to go? Okay. Thanks, Shane. All right. Might have had a temporary glitch or a bump in the coverage or the signal. So how about the Inspector General, Horowitz, is further investigating the FISA abuses that have become evident in recent months. And this is awesome, guys. I'm telling you what, I posted something on Facebook yesterday, and I think I put the title as, basically, shh, do you hear that? Mr. Obama, that's the sound of inevitability. And I took a big kick out of that one because there's a lot of posts, that I put out, a lot of this investigation, guys, the Uranium One, this FISA abuse, this total government corruption from the top down, not all the way down. I mean, a lot of the rank and file, I'll say that, guys. I'm a big FBI fan. I'm a big DOJ fan, Department of Justice, the guys that keep us, that are out there on the beat, that do the hard work, that actually do their job ethically, morally, constitutionally. Guys, not belittling or berating that FBI or that DOJ. I'm berating and belittling and calling out the hierarchy of the corruption train that has become the FBI, the hierarchy at the FBI and the DOJ. And you know who I'm talking about. McCabe, Strzok, Page, Comey, countless others, guys. Those are the ones I'm calling out. So anyways, Inspector General Horowitz, he's been tasked to do further investigation in this and to dive further into the FISA abuse warrants. FISA warrants abuse, and he's currently already tackling 3 other elements of this. Comey's conduct, McCabe's leaks, because that's why he got fired. There's a lot more McCabe has to worry about than leaks, but he was fired because of leaks, and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's texts, which have really been the bombshell genesis and center of the unraveling of this corruption. They're meeting in Andy's office for an insurance policy. There was text conversations there, guys, that stated that there was a clear conflict of interest between, I believe his last name, Judge Gutierrez, possibly, and I probably butchered his name, but the judge on the FISA court judge that actually oversaw Mike Flynn's plea, okay? And Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were discussing having an off-site collaboration with him to have basically a get-together party so they could, with multiple people, so it wouldn't look like they were specifically meeting with him. Guys, it's corrupt from the head down. I mean, it's just ate up with corruption. And welcome to you, Loretta, and everybody else that's on. So you're on the Truth Hour radio program. Thanks for being on this morning. Please like or share this. Leave me comments, suggestions. You can also, guys, email me discreetly at truthourradio@gmail.com. My phone number is on my Facebook profile. Reach out to me personally. I'm approachable. You can text me, call me. Leave me any questions or concerns you feel free to on here on the chat bar as well. So the Inspector General Horowitz is due to have his report out here any day. I'm hearing the end of April, possibly into May. Guys, it's going to totally shed a spotlight, like just a booming spotlight on the corruption that has been the cover-up from the Hillary Clinton campaign, how all of that was fixed. It's going to further highlight. There was a whole lot of things that happened at once there. She fixed the primary with Bernie, right? She got rid of Bernie so she could then have the go-ahead to run for president. At the same time, she had inside people working for her to basically exonerate her before they ever investigated her. The same courtesies were not extended to Mike Flynn or the other people that's pled out since. Hillary Clinton's investigation or her meeting with FBI agents was never recorded. She was never put under oath. I mean, how convenient was that? But Mike Flynn was fully recorded, fully put under oath, and then actually pled to lying to the FBI, misleading the FBI. But that's funny because the very agents that actually oversaw that meeting actually went on to state on the record that they didn't think that he had misled the FBI or lied at all. So let me ask you a question. How can Mike Flynn, and why would Mike Flynn is probably the better question, have pled guilty to lying to the FBI if in fact the FBI themselves stated that he didn't lie? We've already been through this, guys. It's really simple. When the arm of the government comes after you in this form, in this fashion, you got to lawyer up, and you're dropping 40, 50K, 100K. You're dropping tons of cash just to trying to keep your good name. Well, at some point, you can only play that game for so long before the funds run out and the music stops and you got to take a chair. Well, when the music stopped and it was getting close to the music stop, and Mike Flynn didn't have a chair to take. The only chair he had to take was plead to something he probably knowingly didn't do. But he fell on the sword for one reason, to protect his family's livelihood and financial stability. His house is currently under foreclosure, being sold. This good and honorable man, that apparently, even through the words of the FBI, that didn't do anything wrong, pled out to the FBI and Mueller's investigation to stop the bleeding. We need a second special counsel in this country. We need a second special counsel in this country specifically over this, to investigate the investigation, to investigate the investigators, to investigate the corruption that is the Mueller probe. Guys, Mueller goes way back too. He's not clean in this. Andrew Weissman, another one of his attack dogs, that's one of, I don't know, a dozen or more Democratic donor investigators he's brought onto his team. I don't think he's got any Trump supporters on his team. That's funny. Wouldn't you call that bias? Right? And you need to only figure out, guys, start researching Uranium One. Uranium One transcends all of this. And I think not only did they not want Trump in office because they didn't want Trump in office, and they wanted the best way to preserve this corruption and this, the legacy of Obama and the legacy of which is the corruption, and the legacy of the Clinton Foundation, and keep all of this under wraps that's been going on for generations and countless administrations, was to make certain that Trump didn't win, and if he did, to get him out of there as quick as possible. But guys, if you go back to Uranium One, this is what they're trying to prevent being uncovered. There was something really bad going on when Uranium One was in the crosshairs. Uranium One was front and center in 2008 through 2010, I believe. Okay? President Obama's administration. Guess who was the head of the FBI at that time? None other than Mueller. Okay? Mueller's in there. Mueller's head of the FBI. Clinton's head of state. Or, you know what I'm saying? So, here we go. Department of State. State Department. You've got all of this stuff for this Uranium One contract coming through. I can't even believe it was brought up or even considered that 20% of United States uranium mines would even be given a chance to be considered to go over to Russia. How does that happen? They've been our arch nemesis since forever. We've had to keep them at arm's length and on a short leash. So why would there even be a consideration for a contract to allow a Russian entity to come in and purchase up and have control of 20% of our uranium mines? That it doesn't make any sense. But it does make a lot of sense when you start digging into this. There was a process, a panel of 9, I believe, had to sign off on this. Hillary Clinton was one of them. Eric Holder was another. I don't know all of the individuals that were on this panel that had to sign off on this, but not a single vote for yes should have ever happened. But somehow or another, a whole panel of 9 signed off and granted and was complicit in the sale of 20% of our uranium through Uranium One to Russia. Underneath the Obama administration and underneath an FBI ran by Robert Mueller. There is a lot to be talked about with that, guys. There is a lot to be unpacked. And day by day, week by week, stuff is starting to come out. Night before last or last night, there was the undercover informant that's being represented by, her last name is Tungzing. I can't remember her first name. Andrea Tungzing? I don't remember. His attorney, he's the undercover FBI agent at the time, was working for the FBI. And he was gathering information on corruption, kickbacks, and extortion as it relates to Russia's intentions to enter our uranium market. Okay, well that's interesting because by the very words of this undercover informant, all of this information that was subsequently being fed back to the FBI, because he was spying for the FBI, for America on America's behalf, was eventually made it all the way up to President Obama's morning briefs. If that's the case, guys, this makes a lot of sense to me. What did Barack Obama do for the better part of 8 years? Probably before he got in there, but knowingly the day one that he started his presidency and subsequent 8 years, he started appeasing everybody that had anything to do with Iran. If it had something to do with Iran, President Obama took a softball, a soft stance, a soft line. He didn't reject anybody. He didn't push back. He played softball with everything. He played softball in Syria, drew a red line that sounded like there was something there, right? You know, that's something. When the U.S. draws a red line in history, we mean it. Not Obama. That must have been drawn with a crayon or something, or an erasable marker. Because Syria crossed that line, gassed their people, and subsequently continued to butcher hundreds of thousands of their own citizens in one of the biggest mass civil wars in recent history, which then set into place the greatest mass exodus of a people from a country since World War II in the Syrian people as they fled out of that atrocity across Europe, and what has now become and culminated one of the worst migration atrocities ever. Human violations. These people are having to assimilate into countries they never wanted to, all because a president stuck his head in the sand, decided that it didn't matter, all because a president decided that red lines didn't matter, all because a president decided that his end goal was more important than standing up for war atrocities and war crimes. His end goal was the Iran nuclear deal. And he knew his only path to getting that was to appease Russia and certain other players, Iran, right? Naturally Iran, because it's the deal with them. So he didn't want to step foot in Syria, step up against toe-to-toe against Assad, because he'd be offending none other than Iran and the Ayatollahs. He didn't want to step in front of Assad and go toe-to-toe with Assad, because not only would he offend and disrupt the Ayatollahs in Iran, but he would be going toe-to-toe against who? Who else has filled that void over there in the last 6 years? Russia. Okay? So the worst thing ever was a perfect storm for weakness. And guess who took the void? Russia filled the void. ISIS filled the void. Corruption filled the void. The Iran nuclear deal filled the void. The fact is, and I don't have all the details, but it's going to come out. Uranium One, in my opinion, is going to be the biggest pay-to-play in American history. It's not just the biggest pay-to-play in monetary value, because the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton, and Bill Clinton actually got $145 million kickbacks within days of this agreement to their foundation. $145 million. Bill Clinton's speaking fees went from about $200,000 to $500,000 overnight. Other people got lucrative deals. All of this, okay? This will be the biggest pay-to-play. And it didn't just involve the Clintons, and it didn't just involve their entity and their Clinton Initiative Foundation, right? This involved the Obama administration, and this involved the government of the United States being complicit and allowing this transaction to happen. And I want to know, and I want to ask you, why would Barack Obama go soft and allow Russia to have such a significant control of our uranium? I can only think of one reason. As a down payment to get along and go along for all the other stuff that's coming up. And that was the Iran nuclear deal. That was countless other stuff. They went soft in Libya when our Ambassador Stevens was killed. They went soft in Libya when Ambassador Stevens and those SEALs got killed because they wasn't there to protect them. It's been uncovered since. Hey, what's going on, Josh? Good to see you, buddy. Way out there, and I guess you're still in Big Spring, Texas. Good to see you, brother. And love you. And yeah, so they went soft on Libya. Guys, they were running guns. They were running guns to Assad, to the rebels, not Assad. They were running guns to the rebels against Assad through Libya. That's why they didn't want anybody over there to know what they were doing in Libya. Libya was the genesis, was the core center of a gun-running scheme that's yet to be fully uncovered. Obama didn't have the intestinal fortitude to step up and fight Assad the way he should have. He didn't have the intestinal fortitude to step up and lead a coalition of countries against Assad to protect the sovereign territory for millions of Syrians that had to flee so that they could have stayed in their own country. No, he didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do that, because he was padding the way for smoothness and transparency for all of his corrupt buddies over there, like Russia, like Iran, so he could get the Iran nuclear deal. Okay? So he didn't stand up for anybody in that, and he let our guys die. He let our guys die in Benghazi and Libya. He let that happen, and then he planted that against some stupid video that happened here in the United States. And that was just on the eve of the election. Do you remember that, guys? You remember that? He didn't want that to look like a terrorist attack on the eve of an election, or else all of a sudden his foreign policy just went in the trash can. It was a disgusting thing. It was a disgusting thing. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives are on Barack Obama's, the blood of those people that died, and the atrocities that took place afterwards are on Barack Obama's hands, nobody else's. Okay? So Uranium One, mark this in your calendar. Guys, personally start looking for it on your choice of radio stations, on your choice of television broadcast. I'm a big Fox and Friends. I'm a big Fox News guy. I'm a Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, countless other, Brett Baer. There's a lot of others. There's Glenn Beck. There's Rush Limbaugh. There's tons of people out there with good, principled sense about this. Laura Ingraham was another. Guys, start looking into this. They want you to think that the front and center principle here is what's going on now with the supposed collusion and all of this, and this looks bad as far as the FISA. Guys, the uranium corruption, the Uranium One deal, 10 years ago, in 2008, 2009, will far trump and dwarf what we're talking about today. When this is fully realized, folks, this will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, government corruption scandals of all time that this country engaged in, was complicit in, and actually funded and participated in. Gave away 20% of our uranium to an arch nemesis. Gave it away to Russia. Didn't think twice about it. A panel of 9 signed off on it, and then within weeks, the Clinton Foundation got $145 million. Bill Clinton's fees went from $200,000 to $500,000. Are you kidding me? They made bank. It's simple as that. That's what they don't want uncovered. All right, guys, let's transition. How about California's immigration crisis? California's immigration crisis is continuing to grow, but there is a new development. If you've been watching this, there is a new development that is very, very good. There are entities and counties within the state of California that have had enough. Orange County being one. The sheriff in the last 2 or 3 days of Orange County, that sheriff department, after being strong-armed into being told how they have to now disregard federal immigration law in lieu of new state immigration law that is not law, it is a joke, has decided to stand toe-to-toe against the state, their very state, in defiance of the state attorney general that has stated on record that his policies and his department and him personally, if he finds an individual or an entity, a business, who knows now, a county, defying current state law that states, if you are complicit in helping ICE in any way do their job that's been federally mandated to obtain illegal aliens and deport them, that you will be subject to state law and state prosecution and state fines and jail time. Orange County has said, you know what, I'll call you on that bluff. The Sheriff's Department has basically got around the current state law with a loophole, and the loophole is this. They're like, okay, you're going to tell us that we can't individually call out or, list or communicate directly with ICE about the illegal aliens that we have in custody or that we know of whereabouts. Okay. Well, then what we'll do is we will just weekly or daily release publicly all of the detainees that we have, both legal and illegal. We will release all of those to the public for anybody to see, including ICE. And what's funny is Judge Napolitano on Fox News says this is totally legal. Even with current state law that, in my opinion, is illegal. You can't take and make current state law transcend and trump over and basically hold precedence over federal government law. It doesn't work that way. Federal government law trumps state law. It doesn't. You can't do that again. So, And Lauren, looks like you said you lost me again, guys. If you lost me or something's going on with the feed, please give me heads up there again. Confirm if you've got me on. Could have some glitches going on, and I am not the biggest tech wizard out there. I just know how to yap my gums and talk about a few things, but my best buddy Dave here, he's not here, so I don't know what happened. So if there's something going on, let me know. But if it's still good, let me know too. Yeah, so, I don't know what else to say on that, guys, other than God bless this country, this county that's going to step up and do something right for the first time in this battle. And I hope that catches fire and goes to other counties that are like, you know what, I'm not going to turn my nose up at the government. I'm going to stay on and do something about it. And that's what I would do. I would do exactly that. So, Lauren, you catch me on there yet, bud? Anybody on here, go ahead and chat me here on the bar and let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Getting a couple of people feeding back here that said they can't hear me. So yeah, I don't know what else to say on that. Yeah. Other than the fact that, I just think it's a disgrace. I think it's a disgrace, guys, that I think it's a disgrace that a state would go to this extent to go around federal government law. And welcome, Audra. Hey, anybody on here, guys, at this time, please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear, if the feed's good. I'm having a few people say they can't hear me. So if you could chat me here on my chat bar, let me know if you've joined me or if at least you can hear me loud and clear and see me good enough here. I'm just trying to make sure that my podcast is good. So yeah, we'll keep going here with whatever I've got set up. But, this falls in line. The AG of California has then followed, has cascaded down. And Thomas, thanks, sir. Sounds like we're good to go. So, yeah, thanks for being on, guys. You're on the Truth Hour radio program. Political Insight Show every Thursday morning here live, Pittsburgh, PA, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lauren, I don't know what's going on with your situation there, buddy. Maybe you should get out of bed and stop trying to listen to it in bed or something. Maybe that's the problem. Just playing with you, brother. So yeah, this falls in line with what the Attorney General's been saying and doing. So then you've got the mayor of Oakland that fell in suit here a couple weeks ago and gave a heads up to all the illegals that an ICE raid was coming. Right. So California's doing everything they can to stand in the way of everything. And here's what happened. U.S. government through Jeff Sessions has sued them. And guess who joined that suit? Orange County has joined that suit against their own state. And that's good. Bring it on. Bring it on. I hope it goes to the Supreme Court. Let it happen. So yeah. So this, it's not good, guys. It's not good. You got a state that's basically all but trying to succeed from the union, basically trying to trump federal law, act like that they don't have to play by the rules anymore. Real simple. Let's cut their funding. They want to be a sanctuary state. They're already falling off. They're a huge debtor state. They're the worst economic position that any state's in. I think California and their liberal policies. So you know what? Let them disregard federal law, and we'll just keep the money that we have and send it to states that want to comply with federal law and want to toe their line. You don't want to toe the line. You don't want to be a part of this country. Fine, don't be. Don't let the door hit you. So, the way I see this, guys, is there's only one way to handle this, and that's through following federal government, current law, right? There's no other way around it. So, let's transition a little bit. The Florida shooting, the Second Amendment, and who organized these walkouts and these marches / protests is the conclusion of today's show. We're going to spend the next 10 or 12 minutes on this. I'm sure if you're a conservative, this isn't news to you, but these unfortunate tragedies that have happened across this country over the last number of years, culminating in the Florida shooting most recent, have been used to the fullest extent or extreme to undermine and to erode and ultimately destroy the Second Amendment in this country. If you're a Second Amendment loving individual of this great United States of America, you should be worried. There is open discussion on liberal talk shows as we speak about repealing the Second Amendment. There is open discussions daily, guys. They're not cloaking it no more. They're not hiding it no more. They're not putting it under a false umbrella anymore for the most part. There are a number of news organizations, mainstream media news organizations, that are openly discussing that the only way to get to the means justify the ends justify the means. They're talking about the only way to get to wherever the change that they want is to get rid of the Second Amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this 1,000 times. An unarmed America isn't America anymore. An unarmed people is a vulnerable people. An unarmed people is not a free people. An unarmed people are soon to be victims. You better get vigilant. You better stand up and get knowledgeable. You better study what's happening. We need to push back, guys, as respectfully and as Christ-like and as Christian-like as we can. There is no way that we can sit back and allow our Second Amendment to be destroyed. There's no way. We have to stand up and defend our Second Amendment. Guys, go back in your history books. All of the worst cases of mass genocide, including World War II, Hitler, Stalin, countless others throughout history, that happened, started with disarming the people. You can control and manipulate a people that aren't armed. You can control and manipulate a people that aren't educated. And you can control and manipulate and butcher and massacre an unarmed people. Now, the very people that are calling for the disarmament of this country might not understand that fully, and they might just think it's for the greater good. And I'm sure there's some good people out there with good hearts that just think, you know what, yeah, and if there was a way to make certain that tomorrow there wasn't any need for guns, that's the real question. But guys, while there's a need for protection, I as an American citizen have a right to have that need fulfilled. However I seem and deem fit. Not however the government seems and deems fit, and not by whatever means they think. By my individual rights in this country, I am fully capable and aware and allowed the ability to fulfill that need of protection however I see fit. And currently, it's my right to conceal carry, of which I currently am. It's my right to protect my family and have arms at my house, which I currently am. It's my right to conceal carry, and if I'm in public and somebody wants to take that opportunity to terrorize somebody else, I'm going to use that right. And my obligation, I feel, as a concealed carry permit holder in the state of PA, to uphold that and to defend those that might be vulnerable around me or a lot less protected. Guys, your right to vote is no different. It is a tool, it is a weapon, and it is a privilege, and it should be an honor for you to be able to vote in this country. If you have the legal right to conceal carry in this country and you choose not to, in my opinion, you're doing a huge disservice. I'm not going to call you out on the carpet and say, whatever, that you're wrong. I just think it's a disservice. I just think it's not. If you have the ability to do it legally, to conceal carry, and you have the ability to go get educated on firearms, properly, and you then choose to not arm yourself in today's society, I think it's nobody's fault but your own if something happens to you or those around you. Hit me once, it's your fault. Hit me twice, it's my fault. I'm sorry. I do not want to be a victim if somebody needs me, and I have an opportunity to be armed and help somebody else, set aside for myself, but somebody else. I need to be there for them. We have an obligation for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the left in this country is on full assault against our Second Amendment. They're not even hiding it anymore. You need to educate yourself. You need to educate your children. You need to train your children. You need to train yourself in the use of guns. You need to train yourself in the use of defense. You need to purchase firearms. That's a whole other part of this. You can educate all you want. You can talk about it all you want. You got to implement it. It takes actions. Arm yourself legally. Train. And be willing to defend those around you, including yourself. Guys, if something happened at your house or somewhere in public, do you know what the police response time is nationally? By the time the police got to any place in the USA, fill in the blank, chances are the atrocity is already over. The crime's already committed. The death's already occurred. The murder's already happened. It's not the municipalities and the communities and the law enforcement's responsibility to protect you. It's your responsibility to protect you and your family. That's the misconception, and that's the illusion in this country. And it is an illusion. Government wants you to think that if you disarm, that municipalities will cover it. Government will cover it. Local troopers will cover it. Local PD will cover it. And they do a fine job. Not against PD. Not against the local sheriff's departments. 100% behind them. They're a necessity. But hear me clearly. It is not their responsibility to protect you. It is your responsibility to protect you and your family. Okay? Nobody else's. So study on it. Learn on it. Arm yourself. Train on how to protect you and your family and those around you. We do not need, nor should we need, the government to protect us. That is a slow and slippery demise down into a place that you do not want to be as a country. So the Florida shooting, guys, represents a lot of things to me. I've studied some stuff here recently that also indicates that there's a possibility. There's an individual that put out a video, and if you go to my wall, scroll down a couple of days, you'll find it. It's actually blocked out. You have to click at the bottom of the video. It says Access Video. It's been blocked. This individual lived in Florida, has all these security clearances, actually was in the military, did all these things, worked for a certain school district for school security. And he points out some very, very troubling facts about the Florida shooting. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So go to my wall. I don't have the ability to share it on here. Go to my wall if you are on Facebook there with me at some point here. Go back the last couple of days. I think I posted that on there. It's a blacked out video. You'll see my post that we need to question this. It's about the Florida shooting. Listen to this expert's assessment about what he thinks actually happened. It's not a conspiracy theory. He is weighing truth and odds and fact. Okay? Go there, watch that, draw your own conclusion, and I'll leave it at that. But the Florida shooting, guys, could have been prevented on 1,000 different levels. Let me ask you another question. Where's all the footage from inside the schools? I said that about the Vegas shooting. Where's all the footage from inside the schools? Funny how the Vegas shooting, they finally released snippets and tidbits of the footage inside the Vegas massacre, only what they wanted you to see. They didn't release it all. Where's the Florida shooting at? Where's the Florida shooting footage down every hallway, every entrance point? Where's it at? Why hasn't it been released? I could speculate. Guys, the Second Amendment is under full assault. And I'll go no further than this. Did you not find it uncanny and just eerie at how quick David Hogue and all these other supposed teens that were there at the school, and I'm not going to say or question if they were actual students of that school, but wasn't it crazily fast how CNN mustered all these kids together and had this outburst and this outrage against assault weapons, against ARs? Wasn't it crazy to you? Did you ever question that? Did you not see how quick they mustered together a town hall? That then a lot of conservatives went on there and they tried to have their butts handed to, or CNN and all these left-wing gun-grabbing advocates tried to basically hand them their butts. Dana Lash, countless other people from the NRA were on there. This isn't an NRA problem. It was a local PD problem. It was Broward County's problem. It was FBI's problem. It was, if they wasn't busy investigating Trump and stupid collusion and all this other, defending themselves against all the corruption that they've actually done, maybe they could have had enough field agents out there following up on Cruz and the 39 times he'd been seen at his residence. Or all of the very questionable postings he left that would have gotten anybody else in jail. Like, I want to be a professional school shooter? Are you kidding me? You don't put a guy in jail for that? That's a direct threat. You don't go personally detain him and question him. You don't get a warrant because of those things. You don't pursue that in any bit. And then you have resource officers in a supposed security measure in place that was told to stand down and hold back outside and shelter in place. What kind of security is that? What kind of security is it for the coaches that died? 3 people died, 2 coaches and 1 janitor. What kind of security is it for the football coaches / security guards, because that was their title? What kind of security measures is it for football coaches / security guards to only have one weapon to use as defense against a guy with an AR? It was their bodies. What kind of a joke is that? It's horrible. It's horrible. All I'm trying to ask you is this. Did any of the locals drop the ball on purpose? Did the feds drop the ball on purpose? Do any of the mass shootings in this country happen because of a complicit intelligence agency in this country? Are they ever allowed for what they consider a greater good? You ever stop and ask that? What would be the greater good in their opinion? Maybe to destroy the Second Amendment? Maybe to have enough uprising, enough pushback that actual rights are abolished because of so? You ever stop and think about that? That ought to scare you to death. How about who organized these marches immediately following this tragedy? You know who was on the front lines of that? George Soros and Planned Parenthood. Huh. That's really funny. George Soros is the biggest attack dog of the NRA ever. George Soros, the biggest socialist, communist, loving, anti-capitalist, anti-free market, anti-conservative person you'll ever see, with billions of dollars to fund all the anti-Trump rallies, all the, never Trumper rallies. And here he is front and center getting all these kids, bussing them, all these subcategories of companies coming in and bussing these students from around the country to Washington, D.C. and all these big major cities and hubs to protest and march. That's funny. Why don't we ever see any marches or protests or George Soros or Planned Parenthood or all these other big-wig companies coming out and funding and helping get thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of kids to walk out of school and show up at government agencies or at Planned Parenthood facilities where they butcher millions of kids? Why haven't we ever had any outrage or outburst or walkouts or protests for the for the 3,000 lives that'll be killed today in this country and the 122,000 around the world? Why don't we ever see anything about that? Silence and crickets. And we'll see you, Lauren. Take care, buddy. I'm about to close down. I'm just over noon here, so getting a little bit long-winded. Yeah, but think about that, guys. You know who organized all that? Planned Parenthood and George Soros, along with a number of other shell companies. Yeah, great people of this country, supposedly, that care about you, but could care less about real human life. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being on today. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining me on the Truth Hour. Aaron, looks like you just joined me, buddy. I'm about to sign off, man. Appreciate you being on. Thanks to my daughter, Cheyenne. Thanks to, who else we got here? Josh, my daughter, Cheyenne, Jack. Thanks for being on, guys. Appreciate you stopping through here and giving me a shout-out, listening to an hour of truth and relevance as it relates to weekly politics. We appreciate you being on. Please like and share this to your wall now. That is my only request. It helps me grow my base indefinitely, right? So I can get it to your wall and anybody else sees it, please ask them to share it. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in a week, hopefully with my sidekick and the ability to post and do videos and do everything that I normally do that gives a little bit more relevance to this, because I'm sure you do not want to hear me rant and rave for an hour. But hey, it's been fun. I'm blessed to be here today. Keep me and my family in your prayers, and I'll do the same for you. And please reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, or topic ideas. Thank you, and God bless. We'll see you down the road.
Something